Once upon a time, there lived a girl named Oledo who loved to swim in the village river at night. Oledo was a very shy girl, an introvert who loved her own company. She had two younger sisters whom she loved with all of her heart. But despite this, Oledo still loved to keep to herself. She would spend hours in her hut alone and only left her hut whenever she had to help around the houses or during night time when she had to go swimming at the village stream. One night, Aleda was having a swim alone at the stream when she noticed a strange dog sitting by the riverbank. Aleda wondered what the dog was doing by the stream at that time of night, but decided to ignore it as she continued to swim. A few hours later, Aleda felt a tap on her shoulder and realized that she was sleeping by the side of the river. It was her sisters, Oj and Chidinma, who had come to the stream to look for her and were shocked to find her sleeping by the side of the stream. Oledo was confused as she wondered how she fell asleep by the stream. Her sisters were so worried about her and advised her to stop swimming at night, but Oledo assured them that she would be more careful from that day forward. The next day, Oledo decided to remain home, as she could not take her mind off what happened the previous night. She sat in her room, lost in her own thoughts, when she heard the bark of a dog outside her window. This was in the peak of the afternoon, so Aleda looked through her window and caught sight of the same dog she saw by the stream the other night. Eager to know why the dog was following her around, she rushed out of her hut to meet the dog, but the dog was nowhere to be found. Aleda searched the whole vicinity for the dog, but could not find it. She returned to her room confused as she wondered why the dog was following her around. The next morning, Aledo's mother sent Aledo to take some food to her aunt's house, which was on the other side of the village. Aledo set out on her way and met an old man who looked extremely sick, with sores all over his body. The villagers avoided him because of his sores and were unwilling to help him. Aledo, on seeing this, had compassion for him and tended to his wounds. She gave him some of her aunt's food to eat, and the old man ate the food speedily, thanking her for her kindness. Aledo, seeing that time had gone far, continued on her way. She arrived at her aunt's home and heard a loud scream coming from inside the hut. Curious as to why anyone was screaming, Aledo entered the hut and met her pregnant aunt being beaten by her husband. Aledo could not believe her eyes, as everything began to make more sense to her. Her aunt had suffered several miscarriages in the past, and everyone wondered why this was happening, not knowing that it was her violent husband who was behind all her miscarriages. As Aledo tried to shield her aunt from her violent husband, he raised his hand and tried to slap her out of his way when he suddenly began to scream like someone who had seen a ghost. Aledo and her aunt watched as he ran away from their presence terrified, and they wondered what could have happened. Aledo, seeing that it was now getting late, decided to head back home. On her way, she met the strange dog again, sitting by the roadside. Aledo, filled with fear, ran as fast as her legs could carry her. She arrived at their hut and informed her mother of what she saw at her aunt's house and how her aunt's husband ran away without a word. Oledo's mother, furious at what she was hearing, promised to protect her sister at all cost. However, Oledo did not tell her mother about her encounter with the strange dog, as she decided to figure everything out by herself. Several weeks passed, and Oledo never went to the river at night to swim. One morning, her father came to her room to inform her that his rich friend's son, Ikechukwu, had declared an interest in marrying her. He informed Oledo that Ikechukwu and his father would be visiting their home soon to formally make their intentions known to them, and Oledo seemed not to be so excited about the news. Her father's friend's son, Ikechukwu, was not the kind of man that she dreamt of marrying. He was so arrogant and pompous, and Aledo could not imagine a life with such a man. She informed her father that she was not interested in marrying Ikechukwu, but her father was not ready to hear such from her, because a marriage between Aledo and Ikechukwu would not only solidify his friendship with his rich friend, but also make him extremely rich. As the days grew closer, Aledo's heart became heavier. She felt trapped, knowing her wishes were being ignored for wealth and status. On the eve of Ikechukwu's visit, Aledo escaped to her favorite spot by the river, not to swim, but to seek solace. To her greatest surprise, the strange dog approached her by the riverside. It stared into her eyes, and Aledo, terrified at the sight of the dog, ran away in fear. She got home and met her mother, who asked why she looked so terrified. Oledo, unable to keep it to herself any longer, explained all that had been happening to her mother, who advised her to keep away from the stream until they figured out what the dog wanted from her. Oledo, looking into her mother's eyes, pleaded with her dear mother to talk to her father to reconsider his position about her proposed marriage to Ikechukwu. Oledo explained to her mother that she had no feelings for Ikechukwu and dreaded marrying him because of his terrible character, and Oledo's mother promised to do something about it. Oledo returned to her room, worried. She could not stop thinking about the strange dog and her proposed marriage to Ikechukwu, which was slated for the next day. Oledo had never felt this worried in her entire life and wondered what she could do to ensure that her marriage to Ikechukwu did not hold. She stayed up all night thinking, but couldn't figure out anything convincing, as she decided to catch some sleep. When morning came, Oledo woke up extremely sad. The idea of marrying someone like Ikechukwu was more than her heart could bear. Oledo's mother, on seeing the distress in her daughter's eyes, spoke to her husband, informing him of Oledo's stance in the marriage, but her husband's mind was already made up. Oledo must get married to Ikechukwu, whether she likes it or not, he said as he walked out on her in anger. Oledo at this point knew that it would take more than just words to change her father's mind. She sat in her room, hoping for a miracle to happen, when she heard some commotion outside her hut. Curious as to what was happening, Oledo rushed out of her room and saw the strange dog stationed in front of her hut. It stood fiercely, blocking the path of Ikechukwu and his entire entourage. Oledo watched as Ikechukwu attempted to shoo the dog away, but with every step he took forward, the dog approached him aggressively and began to run after him, barking and snarling at him. Ikechukwu ran away terrified as the dog chased his entourage and himself far away from Oledo's home. The entire village was now buzzing with gossip, as the villagers wondered why the strange dog chased Oledo's suitor away. Some viewed this as a bad omen, while others accused Oledo of using witchcraft to chase her suitor away. However, Oledo jubilated in her room, as she could not believe how her wish was miraculously granted. She could hear her father's angry voice in the distance, questioning all that had just happened. But Oledo did not care, as her wish of not marrying Ikechukwu was miraculously granted. Oledo, although happy, could not stop thinking about the strange dog and why it did what it did. This thought troubled her greatly, and Oledo decided to get answers for herself. When it was nightfall, Oledo headed to the stream and sat down. She waited by the stream, hoping to see the strange dog, but the strange dog was nowhere in sight. Oledo stayed by the stream for hours and decided to head back home. She had never been this eager in her life to see the strange dog and wondered where it could have gone. Oledo arrived home that night and met her father, who queried where she had gone at that time of night. Oledo's father was so furious as he accused his daughter of being behind the incident that occurred that morning. Oledo had never seen her father this angry in her entire life. She tried to explain to him that she had no hand in all that happened, but her father seemed not to believe her, saying that he would get to the root of the matter. The next morning, Oledo's father took her to a very powerful seer, who revealed to them that Oledo was married to a dog. Her father, looking confused, asked how this was possible, and the seer revealed that many years ago, when Oledo was not yet born, her father approached a very powerful spirit to help him out of a very terrible situation. At that time, Oledo's father was accused of selling his village out to its enemies, resulting in the death of several villagers. Knowing that the penalty for such a heinous crime was execution, Oledo's father approached a very powerful spirit for help. He pleaded with the powerful spirit to spare his life, and in his desperation, he promised anything the spirit asked for in return, and the spirit asked for the hand of the first daughter born to him in marriage, a promise her father hastily made, not caring about the consequences. Oledo could not believe her ears as her father pleaded for her forgiveness. She asked the seer how she could break away from the covenant, and the seer told her that only the said dog could set her free from the covenant. The revelation shook her father to the core, as he realized the depths of his selfishness in making a bargain he could not honor without causing his daughter pain. They returned home that afternoon, and Oledo locked herself up in her room. She cried her eyes out as she could not believe that she was married to a dog. How could you do this to me? She said aloud as she burst out in tears. For days, Oleta refused to leave her room. Her family was so worried that something terrible might happen to her, considering the fact that she had not eaten in days. They stood in their living room, pondering what to do, when Oleto emerged from her room and smiles. She informed them that she was now free from the covenant, and her father asked how this was possible. Oleto revealed to them that the strange dog had paid her a visit in her room not so long ago. The strange dog told Oleto why it chased Ikechukwu away on that fateful morning. It revealed that if the marriage ceremony between Ikechukwu and Oleto had been successful, Oleto would roam the streets of the village mad after 6 months of being married, because Ikechukwu had plans of using her sanity to fortify himself spiritually. His father, the wealthy man, had introduced him to a very deadly cult, which required the sanity of his wife to fortify Ikechukwu's life on earth. The strange dog also revealed that it appeared to Oleto's aunt's husband on the day that he ran away in fear. It reassured Oleto that her aunt's husband would never lay a finger on her aunt again, as doing so would attract its wrath. Oleto then went on to reveal to them how the strange dog set her free from the covenant he entered into with her father many years ago because of her act of kindness toward the old man whom she fed on the streets a long while ago. The strange dog revealed that it had turned into the old man to test Oleto's kindness, and was shocked to see how kind Oleto was toward a complete stranger that no one was willing to help. In that moment, the strange dog made up its mind to set her free from the age-long covenant. Oleto's family, on hearing these, jubilated as her father pleaded for her forgiveness. He learned his lesson never to make rash decisions based on his selfish interests and promised never to be selfish in his life again. That was how Oleto's kindness set her free from a covenant that could have ruined her chances of ever finding love or living a fulfilled life. The lesson to be learned from this story is that we should not make decisions without thinking about possible consequences. Never allow your selfish interests to trump your ability to think logically, because decisions entered into hastily can oftentimes be regretted in the long run. Also, do not force your decision on another, especially when such a decision has the tendency to affect the life of another individual. Last but not least, be kind to the people you meet in life, as you never know what's ahead.